Hello, welcome back to the Board Boogie. My name is William James. I'm the host of the show. How are all of you? So, like, subscribe, and share, and comment as you go. So, here are 5 of the worst books I've ever had to read for YouTube. I've read a lot of books for this channel. I've read some brilliant ones, I've read some amazing ones, but here are 5 that just stay with me for all the wrong reasons. Cringeworthy detritus of the publishing industry. So here we go. Enjoy the list. First book on this list is Zenith by Sasha Alsberg and Lindsay Cummings. This book is embarrassing. It is basically a, air quotes, feminist retelling of Guardians of the Galaxy. It's fanfiction, with one-note characters that have one trait that is their entire personality. Sasha Alsberg, as a writer, has no reason to be near anything remotely related to writing, and this book is prime example. She is a terrible writer, and it put me off Lindsay Cummings' work as well, because, again, this book was bad, embarrassingly bad, and the sales of book 2 go to prove that. I did love that BookTube was scared to even talk about this book. Like, the cowardice was hilarious, but no, Sasha Alsberg has no reason to be writing a novel, and this is prime example why. What If It's Us? This book is a gay romance written for straight women, and it shows. This book is generic. It's bad. It includes cringeworthy dialogue and Emma Watson's lips. Like, who writes this and thinks this is a good idea? Again, books, and I have no issue with people writing outside of their thing. Like, if you're a straight woman writing a gay character, I don't care. I do care when these books get held up as some great masterpiece and, oh my god, representation, when really it's literally just gender swap the characters and it could be any generic romance novel. This is bad, insulting, and again, cringeworthy list. Again, but better. This book caused so much drama for me, for other channels, because how dare people criticise this book because it was written by a booktuber. Oh, please. Again, another person that has no real reason to be near the publishing industry. Christina is just generic, self-inserting, lazy writing that's oddly manipulative at the end. But this book is the ultimate excuse of lazy, and you can tell that. It's just self-insert fanfiction. And it could have been a decent, like, romance novel, chick lit novel, if editors had just said, well, we need to fix this. It could have been, but it isn't. This book, again, it's bad, it's embarrassing, it's cringeworthy, and caused so much drama for so many people. It's utterly ridiculous. I still have the ARC of this sitting on my shelf that I need to get rid of. Okay, so Descendant of the Crane. This is a YA fantasy, and like a lot of YA fantasy, it's either a revenge story or a love story. It's exactly the same plot points, exactly the same style, exactly the same story, just reskinned over and over again. Oh, it's a YA fantasy with a Chinese setting, a Japanese setting, an Indian setting, a French setting, a Native American setting, a whatever setting. It's just reskinned. YA fantasy is basically take fantasy and neuter it, and most of it is just love stories. This book is bad. It was generic, it was boring, it did absolutely nothing new, it didn't push any boundaries, and at least it was well written, but it was just generic and boring. It didn't really do much, and it didn't feel any connection to anything. It was just literally written as a cash-in device. So, a bonus before we get to my worst book I've ever read. Anything by Morgan Rice. This is just a thing. Morgan Rice is... I don't even think a real person, I'm sure of it, is like... They can't write. They can't tell a story. These things sell dime a dozen. These are bad. All of her plots are the same. All of them revolve around some disenfranchised 17-year-old who miraculously changes ages quickly. Everything happens super quick. It's fanficky, and it's a cash-in to current and popular trends. Some of her books are cash-ins on Game of Thrones, Hunger Games, Vampire Diaries, Twilight type stuff. Morgan Rice is an absolute detritus writer, an absolute garbage. I mean, I'm amazed she even makes bestseller lists, but then, if she is even a person, you look at the people giving reviews and more disingenuous reviews on Goodreads than actual good ones. Oh, where do we start with this one? This is the wind-up doll. This is the genre fiction is fascist, Marxist person who made a very weird stir on Twitter a few years ago. Where do we start with this? You know, I write literary fiction. No, this is genre fiction. Secondly, it's a weird fetish novel about some manga self-insert. The purple poise is embarrassingly bad. The endless streams of flowery, floral descriptions. I mean, who thought this was a good idea? You know, it's not constructed well. The characters are one note. Everything is bad. This was the ultimate dumpster fire. This was the book that made me want to curl up into a little ball and die. And it's the only ebook I've ever returned from my Kindle. This is a bad book, and it deserves all the hatred it gets. The writer is also a complete and utter Fruit Loop.